over 500 million copies sold, Tetris is one of the most successful and beloved video game franchises ever. The game was even adapted into a seemingly unlikely movie that tells the equally unlikely story of its origins.
Not too bad.
Of course, Tetris's lifetime sales numbers are bolstered by the numerous spin-offs and reimaginings of the original game that are still being made and enjoyed today. Yet, Tetris is unlike most other modern entertainment franchises in many ways. These days, anything that is even remotely successful is practically guaranteed to get an immediate sequel. The inevitability of such projects makes it that much more incredible that Tetris sits unmoving in a tide of sequels. And so we must ask, why Tetris's creator never made Tetris 2? Alexey Pajitnov contributed to some future Tetris spin-offs and worked on other games that followed the basic Tetris formula, like Hatris and Weltris. But those games didn't come close to replicating Tetris's success. In 2012, IGN even named him one of gaming's greatest one-hit wonders. A bit cruel perhaps, though that suggestion does raise some interesting questions. Why wouldn't Pajitnov work on a direct sequel to such a successful game, especially since he reportedly lost out on millions of dollars worth of revenue during the time when the USSR controlled the rights to Tetris? Well, according to Pajitnov, the most obvious sequel in the history of video games never really seemed that obvious to him. I didn't really think about a Tetris sequel, he says in an interview with Den of Geek. My thought as a game designer was that Tetris was a complete game, and that there was no need for any serious extensions. I understood that there was no point in going there. It just spoiled the pleasure. His longtime friend and business partner, Hank Rogers, has a slightly different perspective on that story. That's a game designer's answer, Rogers jokes. I was a publisher at the time, and I remember, maybe the first night or the second night we were together, I asked Alexey about what Tetris 2 would look like. When you make a good movie, you make a sequel. Same thing with Tetris. Of course, while Pajitnov never worked on such a direct Tetris sequel, Rogers says he still considers the game's many spin-offs, reboots, and thematic reimaginings to be sequels of a kind. In 1993, Rogers even helped publish an often forgotten title named Tetris 2. It made numerous changes to the Tetris formula. In a way though, those games showed Rogers that Pajitnov was right. It turns out it's pretty hard to improve upon what Tetris got right the first time around. I did publish Tetris 2, but then I thought, what am I going to add to this game? It's perfect, Rogers says. It's tough because that game is so pure and so clean. When we license Tetris, we always tell the licensees, go back and look at the original and then start adding stuff. Don't start out in La La Land. Understand the core fun of that game and then make your game. Of course, just because Alexey never designed a slightly more traditional sequel to Tetris, doesn't mean that he hasn't spent time thinking about what the future of the franchise looks like. Actually, he's done quite a lot over the last 30 years or so as the co-founder of the Tetris company. He even has some favorite Tetris spin-offs and a few thoughts about what Tetris games still have left to accomplish. I still play Tetris from time to time because we need to check the new versions that come out. The most excited I've been about a Tetris game recently was Tetris 99. It's such a great version. I hope to see more breakthroughs with Tetris in the future as well. I really want to see an outrageously good two-player version of the game that emphasizes communication, which, in my opinion, hasn't been done yet. I imagine artificial intelligence will eventually add something to my small game as well. Have you played any of the Tetris spin-offs? Read a longer version of this story on denofgeek.com.